Sorry, guys. I am so sorry for that. That's what you would call a blooper. That's what you would call a blooper. I don't know quite what happened there, but bear with me. Thank you. Let's try to see it. Thank you for tuning in to the Here and Now show. I am your host, LaVonda Ray. First of all, I would like to thank everybody, anybody that tuned in or that is tuning into my show. I want to thank you. Oh, my hair looks messy. I want to thank you. And if you've been into my show before, you know that I'm coming from the Midwest where we come in and show out. You gotta love your city. And as you know, if you listen to my show before, the Here and Now podcast is a show where I take life changing events and turn them into a positive living. And hoping that in regards that people alike that can relate to stories or incidents and that it creates a space where you feel free to say what you want to say because I believe that all voices matter. Um, so with that being said, welcome. And I do want to do an apology. Last night I got on the show. It was a special show because I normally air on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But actually, I'm doing it today. It's Sunday sizzling, and I'm like, hey, let's do some topics, right? So bear with me on that. I do apologize for last night. I got on the air, and there was no sound at all. But that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm back today. I think the topic is great. I think it'll touch a lot of moments where we can all reflect together as one. So again, welcome you to my podcast. We're here now. And of course, if you tune into my show, you know I kind of like to play my jazz music before I get started. So if you don't mind, we'll take a few seconds to embrace that moment. Put my glasses on because you know I'm blind. Either one. Jazz is always a nice, for me, it sets the stage, it sets the ambience. It's a nice atmosphere for me. But let's start the show. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am so glad to be here. Today I'm talking about something that I've struggled with in my past life, and it is the fear of changing. Um, and honestly, most of us don't fear change. We really resist it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes change feels like that friend, that one friend that shows up unannounced, knocks on your door like surprise. Today, your whole life is about to be different. And sometimes, you know, our reactions be like, could you come back next year? I'm not quite ready for that right now. But think about it. If we fear, think about it. We fear all kinds of things that change in life. You know, some people are afraid to love again because maybe, you know, that relationship didn't work out for them. And so they're thinking, you know, maybe since the last one didn't go well, I'm going to set back and stay single and safe, you know. But we all know that love does not come with a guarantee card because if we did, I guarantee you we all be a customer service. Like, I want to take this relationship back for a better one. Without change, understand that we wouldn't be able to grow. We wouldn't learn or discover what capabilities we had. You know, we wouldn't know that because, or we wouldn't be able to see the new chapters because we were afraid to change. You know, and sometimes that very same change that you're afraid of is the very one that'll get you to where your mind is free again, that it gets you to see deeper than what you were seeing because you were, you know, because we have and can be a fear of change. So, what do you do when fear comes and you're scared to change? What do you do? The first thing I do is I take big steps because change doesn't come at once, you know. And second thing I tell myself is I don't let the past dim my future because what happened might have been painful, but it was something that gave you value. You learned something in that pain, and believing in yourself and believe that you are stronger than your fears. And faith, having faith. Sometimes we don't understand why things is going in this direction, but we also remind us that faith reminds us that the new beginnings often come with beautiful, beautiful endings. So if change is like knocking at your door right now, maybe you don't slam the door. Instead, you just deep breathly, slightly open the door and say, "It's okay. Let me see how this is going to work." Because sometimes the change that we fear the most is the change that's leading us to the life we were meant to live. You know, change change can feel uncomfortable to me, and sometimes it can be a little scary. It's almost like somewhere standing on some edge to somewhere that's unfamiliar, and you're thinking, am I really ready to do this? Sometimes we stay the same because it's simple. We're used to where we're at, and it feels familiar and it feels safe, even though we know deep down inside that this situation has outgrown us for some time. And the fear of change sometimes keeps people stuck in places that no longer help them grow, or staying at a job that isn't fulfilling you, or in a relationship that isn't healthy, or holding on to habits and the habits that keep you from becoming the person that you're meant to be. And with that being said, I would like to share a story. I don't know if you tune into my show before, I love little story time. It's just, stories that I tell either because I know that it happened or it has happened to someone that I know or has been in that situation to where telling the story is free. I'm sorry, that is my daughter calling. She forgot that I'm on live. I love her so much. I do. It's okay. I'm not perfect, but on with my story. I call this the woman who is afraid of change, right? Because I don't have to say any names. But, you ever, how can I say, you ever, I can start like this. I knew this woman who was afraid of change. And I don't mean the kind of type that change that gives you a little hesitation, the more like where you're frozen in the same place for years. I mean, she was still living every day. She was waking up, God bless, but she was still just frozen. And, life kept going on, and she grew older, and people around her grew older, and life kept turning, and the world kept going, and it was still going. But she was still stuck in the past. 12 years into her marriage, she discovered that her husband had been cheating on her for 9 of those years. And I can imagine, being cheated on because I've been cheated on. I was cheated on so early in the relationship that I was like, dang, you didn't even get to know me all the way. Like, probably 3 weeks into the relationship, I got cheated on. And it mentally did not break me, but it definitely, kind of gave me a little questioning for a moment, like, what the hell? But then I rised above that. It was like, whatever, you didn't deserve me anyway. But then as I got older, in relationships I got into, I guess they gradually cheated on me. I guess it was a build up, you know. But when this happened to her, excuse me, I am fighting a little cold. When this happened to her, the pain didn't just hurt her, you know, the cheating, it didn't just hurt her. It did more than that. It spiritually broke her. It broke her spiritually, and when someone can break you spiritually, that betrayal, oh, it hurts so bad. And and that's why, so you don't get broken spiritually or where they can break your spirits. That's why you got to practice self-love, practice boundaries before, you know, before it comes to that. And so when this happened to her prior, to this breakup. She was a social worker at the time. She was a social worker, and she did that work because she couldn't have children of her own. So working with children, it made her feel like she was, making a difference, and she really was. But then after her marriage fell apart, everything that followed her fell apart as well. Because she depended on him to carry her mental, she depended on him for everything. And that's why, again, as a human being, no one can carry your mental. They may can understand, but you have to carry your own, face your own demons. Because if you ever come to a situation where you are forced to be alone, um, then you have to learn how to rebuild from that. And so it's good practice to give yourself that. And, she depended on him, and mentally it shook her world. So somewhere in, like, within those 12 years, she just got used to just being a wife. And I don't know what a wife is. I've never been married, but according to her at that time, it was just coming home, going to work, and tending to him. And so when this marriage came to a meltdown, she quit her job. She quit going out. She quit calling me. She quit calling all of us, and she stopped accepting calls. So it was almost like I reached out to her, but it was nothing. You know, I knew she was safe just because I would drive past her house and be like, see her maybe standing in the window, or I would see her car there, and she was safe, but did not want to be bothered, and I respected that. But those days turned into months, and those months turned into years, and she was definitely alive, but she wasn't living. I wanted my friend to live again, right? And if you've ever been somewhere or someplace or with someone that makes you feel like that you don't want to keep living because they broke you so bad, that is not a good relationship. That is tension. So sometimes she would sit in her living room and she would reflect on how her life used to be. And then there were moments in her life where she thought about the sadness, and getting out of her bed was like climbing a mountain. And she would make, and then to top it off, the bitterness that she started to feel started to bleed into her heart. And she was a person at that time that she laughed. Oh, she lost her laugh. She laughed out loud. You ever met someone that laughs out loud? She was that. I don't know how to laugh out loud, but not only are they laughing, they're laughing out loud, and it makes you laugh because they're laughing out loud. That was her. But when her crush time came, that laugh decreased. And she would make comments to herself. She would tell me that she would look in the mirror and be like, at least my hair understands that my life is shit and it's over too. At least my hair understood the assignment, she would often tell herself. But deep inside, she knew she did not want to live like this forever. Well, she knew that this was not where she wanted to be. It was breaking her, and she wasn't sure how to get out of this rut that she was in. One day she said she was sitting around her living room by herself, being her lonely self. And this show came across the television, and she said the topic was let go of your past and let God and trust God with your future. And at first she said she almost changed the channel, but something made her stop. She paused. The speaker said something that hit her heart and deeply, and it hit her deeply. And the speaker said the pain was never meant to stop your life. And she said, and she sat there quietly and she cried. At that moment, she realized that, yes, I got my heart broke. Yes, it was painful, but didn't kill me. And the fact that I'm still waking up every day means that more than likely that there's more life out there for me, and I deserve that. Something shifted in her that night. Within hours, she started doing small things that she hadn't done in years. She started cleaning out boxes because she had shit piled up. She was throwing away all the things that reminded her of the pain. She even stood in front of the mirror and said to herself, I deserve a better life than this, and better than what I've been giving myself. I have sat around too long, okay? Proud moment. Then the next day, she went and she did a small change and she got a new haircut. Oh my gosh, she looked at fire. And that the salon that she went to, she was making comments like, oh, if you could fix my hair, you could fix the rest of my life. It's guaranteed for a good future. But what she was really saying is, I'm taking little steps right now and fixing my hair and self-loving myself is the first thing. And when I tell you, her hair was so cute, clock it. She was gorgeous. And she started taking, and with this change, she started doing more. Like she started taking long walks. She started jogging, and she even called me one day, and she's like, "Hey, you want to jog?" And I'm like, "No, I don't jog. I'm not that, but I am a supportive friend. Um, I will walk with you, but I definitely not jogging. And I'm not a jogger. Some people jog for joggers, good shit, you know, all joggers, good deal. But I'm just not that. She started reaching out to, her old friends and she even made some new friends. She was actually getting her life back because of that change. And the amazing part was the goodness. She began to see what was in her that was already there, you know. And so speed passed 2 years. She returned back to work and got a higher position. Hello, somebody. Yes, she did. And she felt stronger. She felt wiser, and it showed. Oh, it showed. She was flawless, right? You know. And eventually, guess what? She became a mother of three daughters, right? Three daughters at the point where she thought that she couldn't have children. But guess what it was? It wasn't that she couldn't have those children. It just wasn't meant for her to have children by him because her faith seen something that she didn't see. So it took her out of that situation. And then to even make it even more beautiful, she met a man that understood her past and respected her strength and loved her for the woman that she had became. Oh, he did, and he's a great guy. I don't know what happened to the other jackass that did what he did to her, but hey, I wish him well, sort of. Not really, but hey, do your thing. Actually, I do wish him well. It just wasn't meant for them to have that relationship, and I guess he found someone else. So, and sometimes, she would laugh to me and she would say, girl, I spent half of my life thinking my life was over and look at it. It's just beginning. And, that's a beautiful thing, right? She learned something powerful in that journey. She learned that change can feel frightening, but sometimes the very change that we fear the most are the ones that bring us healing. It brings us blessing. It brings us joy that we never expected out of the pain. We never expected that. So maybe a part of your story doesn't have to be the end. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be the end because change help us grow better as people. It also makes us better mothers, better fathers, better brothers, better sisters, better friends. And when we grow, eventually, when we grow spiritually, eventually we bring the growth to the relationships around us, right? Because change doesn't just transform our lives. It can transform our lives of the people that we love. And on the flip side, when we do embrace change, the possibilities are incredible. You have new opportunities, you have new friendships, new love, and and new purpose. You know, so sometimes growth. So remember, excuse me, growth only begins when comfort ends. Right? Learn from experience and trust that every new chapter has potentials to bring in something meaningful in your life. Um, and the thing about new chapters, they're new and they're exciting. It can be scary, it can be exciting. And then once you get past that chapter, like I did it, you know what I mean? I switched up and I changed up because, whew, again, change does not happen overnight, right? And it's not going to. And you don't, and you want, if you want something and you really desire it and you know you need it and you know it can make you better, but you're scared and you have that fight or flight in you, which we all have it. Maybe instead of running for that flight, you fight that and you make that change, Um, I've had to change all through my life. I had to change being one, from being, I don't know, from 18 to 21, change from 21 to 25, change, 25 to 30, change, and then up, because change is every day. Is just don't run from it, you know. And I also want to share that next week, before I leave, I have some questions I want to ask you guys. And I was supposed to have a guest come in, but I think that they kind of got distracted, and it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to answer the questions. And if you happen to see this streaming later and you're like, hey, I got an answer to that, I want to hear it, because your answers are valid. Your answers mean something. And only that, your answer could potentially help someone along their way. Isn't that the great thing about motivation, is being able to motivate someone and yourself to keep going when it seems so hard? That's also change. You got to keep going, because change is coming. The world changes, and when you make that change, especially you make change for the good, because change is hard. There are some people that has lived a certain way all their life. Maybe they grew up with a lot of chaos, and so all that change was chaos, chaos, chaos. So maybe they grew up with that, and so in order to transform out of that, you say, "Hey, I don't have to do that. I don't have to live like that. So I'll change." So as I said, we're gonna take about a 10-second jazz and class break, and then we have the questions, and then we'll be done. Hope I didn't keep you guys too long. So take a moment and embrace what you got, and we're just gonna jazz it out. A few seconds, I'll be back. You might want to come over here. All right, you want to come over here? Bring your chair. All right, and we're back with the questions, and we gotta have them. So, as you see, as I said earlier, we have a guest. So I'm gonna let my guest state her name and let's get us and say what Let's welcome you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nisha. I'm from Colombia.
Yes, the show me state where we come in, show you, and show out. Okay, so I have a few questions, and it's not too many questions, but feel free to answer them. There's no right or there's no wrong answer, because you know what? They're questions. I feel like I'm not. So I'm gonna lean back. Okay, so the first question is, as you know, I'm not sure if you're familiar. I was speaking on change and why change is good, and the fear of change, and once you change, how great it feels, and all the wonderful things that follows when you make drastic change in your life, or a change in general, whether it's friends, family, lifestyles. So the first question is, why do people fear change, you think?
I would say comfortability,
Hmm.
them just being too comfortable and being scared of what else there could be out there.
Yes, that is so true. I agree. I said basically the same thing. When you're used to everything being the same, you can't grow because you're staying the same. And that to follow that, can change help us grow?
Yeah, I would
Yes.
say so.
Yes. Why do you think change can help us grow?
It could be for better or worse, honestly. I feel like, but changing it's not all good to always stay the same. It's
Mhm.
always good to change some stuff
Change,
up a little bit.
yeah, I agree because change also leads us to new things and discover abilities that we didn't even know we had and the strengths, you know. What happens if you refuse change? Oh no.
Um, I mean, really, I guess if you refuse change, you could be stuck in the same position forever,
Oh
forever.
wow, that is exactly right. And there's no right or wrong answer, but you hit it on the nose there because you would be stuck in the same position and you will not be able to see your potentials that was meant for you to have. How can change make us better parents?
I feel like change can make people, anyone, like better parents. Um, it's like unlearning stuff that you were taught and brought up on. Maybe like change it up a little bit with your kids, or
Mm-hmm.
do better than what was done
To
with
you.
you.
Yep. Very, that was very good, very well said. Okay, and I think also yes, is what you said gives us help us with patience and understanding and open new doors so we can learn more about change. How do change lead us to new opportunities?
Um, I feel like change can lead to new opportunities because it's like once you have something in your mind that you want to do, you'll be motivated to
Hmm.
get that done. So it's
Yeah,
like I got to work on my mind and body first, and after that, it's up from here. Like
yep, I agree. Good answer. And how does change help us grow?
change can help us grow. It kind of goes back to what I was
Yeah,
saying. Like you wouldn't be stuck in the same place. I mean, you could and still change, but
yeah. This might take a
but
little longer.
yeah, it just help you grow, help
Yeah,
us grow. Yeah,
I believe that.
change can.
Change can teach us a lesson, and it also can help us with patience, resilience, and give us confidence. Every day we just adjusting to something new, and it gives you, wisdom and a new strength and a new version of ourselves. And last but not least, how can we learn to embrace change instead of fight it?
Um, don't force anything.
Mhm.
You can't force something to happen. It'll all fall in place. Basically, it's like it'll come to everything will fall in place within a matter of time. Of course, encourage yourself to do that and to
Mhm.
change and to give yourself time that you can change, but don't force. Forcing is never good.
Agreed. Oh, well, I think that those were some great questions. Hey, somebody. Hey. Well, you guys, so I guess I'll wrap it up. Oh, let me get back in here, guys. Oh, we're just learning. We ain't perfect. Uh-oh, I didn't want to get it up like I'm hating. So, yes, to wrap up the show today, here's some things to remember. Change is a part of life. Sometimes change shows up quietly, and sometimes it's yeah, and it shows up quietly, and sometimes it can come in and knock at your door and rearrange your furniture, meaning rearranging your life. But many times, the change that we thought was the end was actually really the beginning of something new and better. So instead of fearing change, try welcoming it. Okay, you guys know what I'm saying. Try welcoming it. Try welcome it. What am I trying to say? Welcoming it.
Yeah, welcoming it.
Y'all don't be getting on here and call me
Welcome.
illiterate, okay? Because it's called a tongue twist. 'Cause they will, This is reality, They really. But yes. So instead of fearing it, welcoming it.
Instead of fearing it,
Welcoming it.
welcome it.
Yes, it was a faith and a lot of courage, and you will be all right. So thank you, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And remember to like and subscribe and share. Okay. Hello, somebody. Hey.